Welcome back. My name is Michael Kentenich and I'm a Microsoft Technical Trainer. This is the AZ-400 exam prep video series, and in this fourth episode we will review how to develop a security and compliance plan. In this group we will revisit how to design and implement authentication and authorization methods, design and implement a strategy for managing sensitive information in automation, and automate security and compliance scanning. There is a chance of a question from any of these areas on your exam. This is not a complete list, but it can help you plan what to study. You don't want to spend time studying something that's irrelevant for the exam, so it's useful to know what's in and what's out. We're not going to discuss all these topics in this episode. Some of them will be quickly recapped at the end. Recall for the exam how to create service principals and manage identities. Understand the limitations of a service principal and why a managed identity, if applicable, is the better choice. Remember how to assign them to applications and services using Azure RBAC, the role-based access control. If you need to grant access to Azure resources for either your pipeline using a service connection or other Azure resources like a web app that needs to access an Azure Key Vault or a database instance on Azure. For GitHub, review the steps for authenticating in your browser by entering your credentials or a personal access token or a PAT using GitHub_token to interact with the GitHub API and GitHub packages. And learn the different token types such as user, installation, and workflow tokens. Also recall how to authenticate with GitHub Desktop by logging in with your GitHub account and how to authenticate on a command line by using Secure Shell or HTTPS. Service connections are a way for Azure DevOps to communicate with other services that you need, such as Azure or other clouds, and tools like Jira, Jenkins, and so on. For the exam, you should know how to set up these connections to the services you use. Be familiar with how to use service connections in the tasks of your pipelines. And remember that Azure DevOps provides personal access tokens too for various tasks, such as registering agents or creating work items, environments, or pipeline resources. Consider how GitHub and Azure DevOps manage roles and permissions for users and groups. GitHub uses organization and repository roles, while Azure DevOps uses organization, project, team, and security group roles. Know the 3 access levels in Azure DevOps: stakeholder, basic, and basic plus test plans. They control what features you can use and see as a user of your projects. Don't forget outside collaborators. They are people who can access some of your GitHub organization's repositories, but are not part of the organization. Roles and permissions for groups and users go along with a well-structured and configured organization of projects and teams. Make sure you understand why you might want to create more than one organization in Azure DevOps or one or multiple projects in one organization. Know that you can adjust the permissions of your team members or groups for your projects. And be aware of the various settings you will find for your project and your team under the project settings and the team settings menus. Refresh your memory on how Azure Key Vault enables you to keep and handle your objects with unique identifiers and metadata, and how you can leverage different ways to access and integrate them. For instance, you can use Azure Key Vault with Azure Pipelines and GitHub to securely store and retrieve secrets such as passwords and tokens for your DevOps workflows. Both GitHub Actions and Azure Pipelines offer built-in secrets management. They allow for creating and using encrypted environment variables at different scope levels in your pipelines and workflows respectively. Ensure you can recognize the correct syntax for both systems, let's say as part of a YAML pipeline. And finally, consider using variable groups, which can hold not only encrypted variables, but also allow to reference secrets of an Azure Key Vault for central management and local usage in your pipelines. Imagine you need to provide sensitive files during deployment in Azure pipelines, and these files should be securely stored and access to them should be restricted. Recall the different ways to lock down your Azure DevOps environment using the security measures at hand. Security must be in everyone's focus. And for the exam, you should be aware of common principles around storing and managing sensitive configuration values. And these best practices should be considered, since they highlight that it's not just a technical challenge, but it's also an organizational one. Apply the principle of separation of concern. Keep secrets separate with strict access controls. Rotate secrets and revoke access when not needed anymore. Maintain audit logs. Be aware of how secrets are retrieved as part of the development cycle. Understand how Microsoft Defender for Cloud can help you detect, assess, and diagnose security incidents in your cloud. Know that you can follow the recommendations from Microsoft Defender for Cloud to improve the security posture of your cloud resources and data. Learn how to configure Azure Policy to enable governance and compliance capabilities in the cloud. Recall the benefits of integrating GitHub with Microsoft Defender for Cloud, such as enhanced security, visibility, and automation. Also know how GitHub Advanced Security can help you improve your code quality and security posture, both on GitHub and Azure DevOps. Remember that Azure Artifacts and GitHub Packages can help you manage your software components efficiently and securely, and that Software Composition Analysis, or SCA, is essential to monitor the licenses, vulnerabilities, and updates of the open source software components you use. GitHub's Dependabot is your friend here. You should understand that this is one tool to support your SCA by scanning your repos and creating alerts and automated pull requests for you to review. In the context of SCA, recap integrating various SCA checks into your pipelines. In addition, don't forget about other traditional operational methods to securing your assets, like multi-factor authentication or dynamic scanning. And keep in mind that CodeQL is a great way of spotting patterns in your code base that could cause security issues along the way. In this episode, we revisited how to design and implement authentication and authorization methods, design and implement a strategy for managing sensitive information in automation, and automate security and compliance scanning. With that, we come to the end of episode 4. We hope you will join us for episode 5, Implement an Instrumentation Strategy.